You want to know why you keep ending up in the same place with money. Why you can't seem to break through that invisible wall, like there's some ceiling made of glass, but reinforced with steel. Why no matter how hard you try, something always pulls you back. And here's the part you don't want to hear. It's not about the money. It was never about the money. It's about who you believe you are. Because if deep down, in the softest, quietest corners of your mind, you see yourself as someone who struggles, as someone who barely makes it, as someone for whom wealth is for others, not for people like you, then your entire nervous system will sabotage any attempt to escape that identity. Not out of malice, not because you're weak, but because to your subconscious, comfort equals familiarity, and struggle is what's familiar. You can win the lottery and still lose it all. You can land a big deal and still find a way to drain it. You can earn more and more, but your savings account stays dry because the identity hasn't changed, because the wiring runs deeper than your bank statements. There's this trap, a mental one, more vicious than any external circumstance. And it's this: the illusion of safety in staying broke. See, when you grow up watching money disappear, when your parents fought over bills, when your teachers glorified just enough, when your community praised sacrifice and warned against ambition, your mind made an unconscious equation. More money equals more danger, more expectations, more chances to fail, more ways to be judged, more ways to lose. So, you stay small. Not because you want to, but because you've been trained to. Every time you feel the urge to invest in yourself but hesitate, every time you undercharge your worth, every time you procrastinate on building something bigger, that's not laziness. That's fear disguised as logic. That's your subconscious clinging to the safety of the known, because your inner world believes that staying broke is staying safe. And the brain doesn't care about your goals. It cares about survival. So when your nervous system associates wealth with abandonment, or betrayal, or failure, or risk, you will subconsciously repel it. You will create crisis. You will delay opportunity. You will attract chaos, because chaos is what you know. Scarcity is what you've danced with. And to the unhealed mind, chaos feels like home. You might wonder, how did it get this bad? How did the programming run so deep? Think back to your childhood, to the looks exchanged across the dinner table when rent was due, to the phrases you heard. Money doesn't grow on trees. We can't afford that. Rich people are greedy. Don't get your hopes up. These weren't just sentences. They were spells, repeated enough times to become truths, etched into your nervous system like scars you forgot to trace. And culture reinforced it. Movies where the villain was rich, where the hero gave everything away, where love was pure only in poverty, where wanting more was always painted as selfish, evil, or empty. So now, when you want more, when you envision abundance, you feel guilt. Guilt for outgrowing the tribe. Guilt for stepping out of line. Guilt for wanting what they told you was dangerous. And guilt is the chain that keeps you anchored. But here's the cruel irony. You think staying broke is noble. You think it makes you humble. You think it keeps you spiritually aligned. But all it does is keep you in survival mode. And you can't be your highest self when you're in survival. You can't think clearly, love deeply, create freely when your mind is flooded with cortisol and fear. You can't build a legacy from a place of panic. And here's what they don't teach you. Self-worth is the thermostat for your wealth, not your intelligence, not your hustle, not even your network. It's the beliefs you carry about what you're worthy of, because you will never allow yourself to receive more than you believe you deserve. That's the mental trap. It's invisible, but it runs your life. You dress it up with logic. You say, I just need more time. I'm waiting for the right moment. I'm being responsible. But beneath all that, fear. The fear that if you grow, you'll lose love. The fear that if you expand, people will resent you. The fear that if you break free, you'll be alone. And that fear keeps you broke. But let me tell you something most people will never say out loud. Staying broke doesn't make you safe. It makes you stuck. It makes you resentful. It makes you bitter. It drains your energy, warps your thinking, poisons your relationships, because when you're constantly worried about money, you can't be present. You can't feel joy. You can't access your genius. Scarcity hijacks your mind. It makes you think small, act small, play defense. And when you're in defense mode, you can't build, you can't lead, you can't dream. You start to see others not as inspirations, but as threats. You feel envy instead of possibility. You criticize instead of create. Because your mind is scanning for danger, and wealth looks like danger. This isn't about greed. This isn't about chasing money for ego's sake. This is about reclaiming your birthright, your power, your freedom. Because every time you deny your abundance, you deny your ability to serve. Every time you shrink, someone else loses the light you could have shined. Every time you dim your fire, the world grows colder. You weren't born to struggle, but the struggle gave you identity. It gave you connection. It made you relatable. So now, letting it go feels like betrayal. You've built an entire persona around being the underdog, the one who makes do, the one who survives. And that's why wealth feels like death to that version of you. So to grow, you must grieve. You must say goodbye to the identity that kept you safe, the stories that made you belong, the beliefs that gave you meaning. Because you can't become who you're meant to be while clinging to who you used to be. And yes, it's terrifying. Because the brain doesn't just fear the unknown. It grieves the familiar, even if the familiar is pain. So your comfort zone becomes a cage, beautifully decorated, perfectly rationalized, but still a cage. And every time you try to leave it, your mind whispers, "Come back. It's safer here." But is it really safe? Or is it just predictable? Is it really comfortable? Or is it just numbing? You see, comfort and growth rarely hold hands. And wealth, real wealth, demands expansion. Not just of action, but of identity. And that's where most people get stuck. They try to change their habits without changing their self-image. They set goals without shifting their subconscious. They build strategies on top of shaky foundations. So everything collapses. Not because they're incapable, but because they're misaligned. Your inner world must rise before your outer world can reflect it. And the longer you resist that, the more self-sabotage shows up. As procrastination, as imposter syndrome, as perfectionism, as bad luck.